it's just like after you struggle for so long with something and then you crack a code, you just want to give that code to other people.
The bigger you can make the platform, the stronger the base is going to be.
Yeah.
You know, as you level up in business, you understand it's not necessarily the what, but the who. The higher up you go, the more you're going to learn that lesson.
So I think that you can make different choices. You can take different risks. You can choose different whatever. That you can increase your luck surface area.
100%.
There's still luck though, right?
Like I'm like the whole time I'm like let's do this. Like I'm like my head. I'm like I gotta do this. I gotta do this. I get a little like aggro actually.
Yeah.
I get a little frustrated. All right, we just finished this episode with Morgan, and it was a great episode. We talked about all kinds of things. Morgan, if you don't know her, she's someone that's grown her coaching business to 100K per month, hitting 100K per month now, and she helps people in all different industries, particularly helping people to make money online, coaches, consultants, fitness coaches. I'm helping them to, make money using Instagram and social media, that kind of stuff. It was a great episode. If you enjoy this kind of stuff, make sure you like and subscribe and reach out to Morgan. And leave a comment if you like this kind of stuff, and I'll make sure to do more like this, okay? Thank you so much. Enjoy the episode. Tell us a little bit about what you do. We'll start there.
A little bit about what I do. For the most part, simplest form, I help coaches get clients on Instagram. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
What do you mean by coach? Like soccer coaches, like fitness coaches? What kind of coach?
Yeah, good question. All kinds of coaches. I've had a lot of health fitness coaches. That's like kind of my background. But relationship coaches, career coaches. I've had ayahuasca coaches. I've had cannabis coaches. I have anxiety coaches. I have a lot of different kinds of coaches, basically. Yeah.
And people pay you money for what?
Basically to help them build their business and not be a broke coach like I was for 5 years. Yeah. Okay. Basically making sure they're marketing to the right person. They've got a good offer. They've got good price points. They know how to get leads. They know how to get those leads to book calls and how to turn those calls into clients and then eventually build a team.
When you were a broke coach, what kind of coach were you?
I think the bigger thing than what kind of coach I was just like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. I honestly, candidly think, and maybe this is helpful to dive into, but I don't think I was cut out for entrepreneurship. I think I cut myself out, but it took me a long time to do that. And I just didn't have any help. I was like, I was an engineer. I could figure this out, surely. And I just did a lot of the wrong things trying to get clients, basically. But I started off CrossFit coaching and then got into like more macro nutrition coaching, and then I got into a little bit more of like the health side of it and like habits for entrepreneurs, but very much in the health side of coaching.
Got it. So you kind of were a business owner first, or I guess maybe an employee first, like a CrossFit coach, a CrossFit type of coach, and then you kind of transitioned into your own. What was that journey like?
Well, it kind of started off, so there's kind of a little bit of a crazy backstory, but the coaching side of things started off with, do you know who Barbell Shrugged is by chance?
I don't think so.
Okay. In 2014, they had like the number one rated, I think it was like the number one rated health and fitness podcast on iTunes. And anyways, I really wanted to learn from those guys. So I ended up writing the guy who owned the company an essay basically of like, hey, why I should come work for him, because I had no skills. Anyways, I ended up, he was like, yeah, sure, you can come coach at our CrossFit gym. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll come coach at the CrossFit gym. And then eventually that turned into being their social media manager. But while I was doing that, I kind of knew I didn't want to build someone else's business. So I started getting my nutrition certs and started getting a bunch of like health and fitness certifications. So then kind of while I was working for them, I started to take on some clients, kind of figure some stuff out. Then they like let go of half the company. I was one of them. Then I started waiting tables to pay bills. But I basically I basically started off all in that like health and fitness niche.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you eventually kind of branched off into your own?
Yeah. So what happened, honestly, from I would say 2014 was when I left engineering. It wasn't until 2019 that I finally got some help. I finally bought a course. I finally got a mindset and business coach. I also got hired, weirdly enough, I got hired as a lead generation strategist for this tech startup. It was actually in the same building that Dan Martell is in right now in Kelowna. Anyways, a bunch of things happened. And then basically 3 months after having that job, that lead generation strategist job, I was like, okay, but I still don't want to build someone else's business. So I left. And then 2 months later, I had my first $20,000 month. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I had been almost carrying around 5 years of proof that I was a broke coach, that I didn't make any money, that I could like never figure this out. And then once that happened, I was like, oh, this is crazy. So I'm still health coaching and like habits coaching and like that fitness type of coaching. But then all my friends start being like, well, like, how did you do this? So then public facing, I'm like fitness coach. But on the back end, really, everyone's starting to come to me for like help, like business coaching. And then eventually 6 months in, I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to call this what it is and just say like, this is what I'm doing now. And then I just kind of switched. But I think the reason that I switched was it's just like after you struggle for so long with something and then you crack a code, you just want to give that code to other people. You know, you're like, yeah, this cost me 5 years of my life and a lot of dark nights of the soul and quitting and giving up and trying again. It's like, if I can help someone save that, like, yeah, I want to help someone save that.
That's interesting. I'm actually in a kind of a similar place. So a lot of people, like I help grow other people's businesses using Meta ads, Facebook ads, and just like basic lead generation type stuff. Yeah. And so I scale my business basically using webinars. That makes sense. I started doing one webinar, and then I kind of had some mild success with it. And then I heard Russell Brunson say that if you do a webinar every week for a year, you'll have a 7-figure business. So I started doing webinar for a few weeks, and then one time it hit me like, what if I don't want to wait a year to have a 7-figure business? So I tried to figure out how I could condense 1 week's worth of traffic, 1 week's worth of ad spend into 1 day and start doing a webinar every single day. And so I started doing a webinar every single day for like 3-4 months, and my business just kind of took off. And I also got really, really good at webinars, really good at like everything that involves in that whole like skill set of doing webinars, generating leads, converting them, upselling them, all that kind of stuff. So front facing, I'm a guy that helps people grow their businesses on like local businesses. Like, if you're a pressure washing company, med spa, like whatever it is, I can help with that. But then everybody starts to come to me like, hey, what's this webinar thing you doing? Like, how are you growing this agency side of it? So people are kind of coming to me, asking me how I was able to grow my business using webinars. And so I'm reluctantly helping them with their webinar stuff because, that's like a side project for me. And I'm always like wondering if this is something I should continue to go in on, or if I should, if I should focus on this, because you kind of need both. So I'm curious, at what point did you decide to kind of go all in on helping other people when you were still kind of, doing the other side of the coaching side too? Yeah,
this is a good question. Candidly, I think I made that jump really early. I think as soon as how Hormozi talks about like he was into fitness stuff, but then eventually he realized that he loved business more. I think that was a big thing that was happening because I'd been doing the fitness stuff for a really long time. So like, honestly, if I could go back, I think I would have waited longer to make that shift. I probably took that jump a little early, but I think it just lit me up more than what I was doing. And after it was like 20K month, and then 6 months later, I was just like, okay, I'm owning this, and we're just going with it. I probably should have played that card way longer, but it is what it is. So
that's everybody that I tell that story to. Like I tell them because I'm getting other clients that I'm teaching people how to do webinars, and those people, it's all organic. They pay me a lot more money. They're way better clients. It's easy to fulfill. And then have this other agency side where the businesses are broke. They're coming to me with the last like $1,000. That have crazy high demands. They don't do the work that I tell them to. And so it's like I have these two sides. And then I really want to go explore this side because people are like paying me a lot more money. But in this side, this is like how I got into it and why I'm doing this in the first place and why even people want to talk to me about this other thing. So I'm like, everyone's like, you should go do this. I'm like, wait. Let me just get this first, and then I can work on that. But it's something I'm really going back and forth. I don't have for now, I'm like, let's put this on hold because this will always be here. Yeah. And like the bigger I make this, then like this is going to be way easier, Hormozy, I'll go back to him. I know you're a big fan too. It's like the bigger you can make the platform, the stronger the base is going to be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Yeah.
That was a side note, but tell me more about how you went from that almost zero to those 20K months. Mm-hmm. Like, what were some of the little catalysts of change that started to flip things on for you?
Many things. I think one thing is bricks on the bridge, and another thing is just burning the boats. So I'll talk about bricks on the bridge first. I get that from Hormozy. You ever hear him talk about bricks on the bridge?
I haven't heard that one.
Okay. So basically just like, in order to get what you want, no matter what it is, if it's like your first client, it's your first 10K month, it's your first $1 million a year, whatever. It's like there's all these, like imagine it's like you're here and you're trying to get here, and it's literally a bridge and you have to lay bricks down in order to cross the bridge. So I think for me in 2000 it's just like there was 6 years of like slowly laying bricks. And then I think realistically what happened in 2020 is I had laid a lot of those bricks. I didn't know I was laying them at the time. I was like, I'm still an idiot. Like, how come I can't figure this out? But I think some of those final bricks clicked. And so I actually had enough to cross the whole bridge. I think that was one thing. And then I think the other thing was I just remember walking home from this startup and knowing that my 3-month contract to start was up. And I remember like the exact street I was walking down, exactly what was going through my head. And I was just like, man, I'm not even making enough of my coaching business right now, realistically, to pay rent. But my soul is like, leave. And I'm like, this makes no sense. But I jumped. And then I remember, just being like, okay, like hopefully I'll figure this out. I was very much so battling like a scarcity mentality because like I needed to pay rent and all that stuff. And I remember a month after I left, COVID happened. And that was massive amounts of anxiety for me. I literally remember sitting on my sofa with like fear and anxiety and stress and worry, being like, oh my God, what if I have to go back to serving? Like, and I have to like go back and knock on the door of that restaurant with my tail between my legs and be like, guys, please take me back. I was like, well, how embarrassing would that be? And then I was like, oh my God, there's no restaurants open. Like, there's nowhere to go back to. Like, you've literally burned all the boats. And I think that, like, no going back, like, having the bricks on the bridge and no going back was like, you have to figure this out. Mm-hmm. And I think those two things combined, I remember writing, like, $20,000 on a sticky note, thinking, wow, that's crazy. But then kind of intending to do it in a month. And then kind of being like, you should throw that away. But then also being like, but why couldn't you do this? And then I just got into this crazy manifesting routine with that stuff and getting really obsessed about it. And we can dive into that if you want. But I think it was just no going back, focused on the goal, and using everything I had to just make something work. Yeah. Yeah.
The analogy of, laying the bricks, it's kind of like, man, I had something I wanted to say, but I can't. I'd lost it. Tell me more about what it was like. You used to be an engineer at one point, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you? So what was that about, by the way? Tell me about like what you did before you got into all this coaching stuff.
Yeah. So when I came out of high school, like most people, when you're in grade 11 or grade 12, and people are like, you need to decide what you're going to do for the entire rest of your life. You're like, oh my God, that's a big decision. I didn't really 100% know what I wanted to do. But my boyfriend at the time was getting into like conservation, like, the park rangers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what he was getting into. And I grew up with like 100 acres of land and dirt bikes in the backyard. And I was like, oh my God, I could just get paid to like do what I'm doing and, be on a 4-wheeler or a dirt bike or whatever and be outside like I'm already doing. Anyways, my thought process behind that was it seemed like I would like it. And although I thought I was smart enough to do probably almost anything that I would decide to do, I was like, okay, well, that quote of if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life was in my mind. And so I was like, okay, I will trade making more than $100,000 a year to make $60,000 a year if I can like it. Mm-hmm. But then 2 years after that, I was like, okay, well, you know what? I actually partway through that program, it was only a 2-year program. Halfway through, I was like, damn, I don't think I want to do this. But I was like, okay, I might as well finish it. So I finished it. And then I was at a crossroads again. And I was like, okay, well, how do I... like, where do I go from here? And I was like, well, I tried the liking it path, and that didn't work out for me. So let me just take a different path and I'll pick something I can make a bunch of money with, and then I can do what I want in my free time, i.e. engineering. And then I started going down that path. I was a year in, really struggled with it in the first year, actually. I was like...
what kind of engineering, by the way?
I started out in civil, and then I ended up moving into geomatics, which is like GPS engineering stuff. But yeah, like a year in, it just became apparent, like just the thought process that I was having in between year 1 and year 2, I got a job like in the field, and I was just kind of staring around, and I was like, man, I feel like I've got the ladder leaned up against the wrong wall, and I don't think I want to get to the top of this. And then it was like this, okay, now what do I do with my life situation? And that kind of led to a bunch of thinking and just like there's a podcast that I was listening to at the time. I forget what it was. It was Mike Bledsoe's podcast, the Barbell Shrug guy. And he turned me on to this guy, Dr. DeMartini, and there was this whole thing about looking at your values, like what are you spending your time on, your money on, what's in your room. And it was like always health and fitness. And I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do health and fitness stuff? Like, am I going to go back to school for kinesiology? Like, what if I do 4 years and I don't like that either? Then I should have been a doctor at this point. And that's when I got the crazy idea of just like, okay, basically how I found those guys, the Barbell Shrug guys who I started working with, I was just obsessed with CrossFit at the time. So I was like drinking the Kool-Aid. I loved it. And I'd been watching their show on YouTube. Like they had just like this, they had a podcast and they would talk. It's kind of crazy that we're like doing this now because like this is kind of what started everything. But I loved their podcast and I would always watch it on YouTube and iTunes and, whatever. And then I got this crazy idea doing meal prep in the kitchen one day. And I was like, what if I could like do that? Like they got the life I want. They're traveling, they're helping people, they're like podcasting, they're doing what they love. I was like, I want that. And I don't know, I just got this crazy idea that I was like, maybe they would take me on. Like maybe I could go work for free for them and get around them and learn from them. So I like called up my mom one day. I was like, yeah, so I'm dropping out of engineering and I'm going to work for free for these guys, these 3 guys I found on YouTube. I don't know them, but I'm moving to the States basically. And so, yeah, my mom being my mom was like, okay, can I come for the drive? And we both got in the car. We drove down to Memphis, Tennessee. And like, that was the start of the coaching journey. But it was just like it was truly just chasing something that I would like doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, the fact that it's really hard for you to go back from that, I could see how you just had to figure it out.
Yeah. I
mean, you and your mom got into a car, you completely changed your identity. So it's not like you're kind of one toe in at that point.
Yeah. I remember like during that whatever you call it, I don't know, work term, free work term, it was 3 months, but the end of the 3 months happened and I was like done like working for free. But I was like, well, now I mean, can I just stay working for you? Cause like, I was like, realistically, like, what am I going back to? Like, what am I going back to? And so I stayed for another 3 months. And then after the 6 months was up, that's when I had a conversation. I was like, yo, guys, like, I am broke now because I took all the money that I was going to use to pay for university that I saved up and I spent it to float myself for 6 months. But now I'm broke. So either you guys got to pay me or I got to go back to Canada. And that's when they like found a way for me to get on their social media team, and then I moved to California, and then that started a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, it was kind of crazy. Yeah.
So I did remember what I was going to say.
Hit me.
Yeah. So the story about laying the bricks as you're building a bridge, it's similar to the fact that it takes 5 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same type of idea.
Yeah.
And then the other thing about burning the bridge and you not wanting to go back to an engineer life type of thing. It's it's like if you it's almost like you're not gonna die if you go back, but for some people it's like you'd rather die than go back to doing a type of life that you hate.
My soul would die.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people relate to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do they? Do they? I think a lot of people are stuck in a 9 to 5. And I mean, from my perspective, maybe it's because I see things through my lens. Like I would want to leave that as soon as possible. But I think a lot of people like it, right? They have to, I guess. So maybe the pain isn't great enough to spur some kind of change.
I mean, two things. I think one, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I think that's part of it. Maybe they just don't know what they don't know, and they're cool with that. Also, I have realized, I don't get me wrong, I definitely think there are some 9-to-5s that are soul-sucking and wouldn't be that fun. But also, when I really think about it right now, sometimes I would almost rather be an employee on my team sometimes than like running everything. Not actually.
Careful what you wish for.
No. I actually let me correct that. I actually don't, but at the same time, I see more value in that than I previously did. Like in not being the one running everything.
Because it's tough, right?
There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
It's very tough. That's why most people fail.
Yeah.
Right? Because they just don't make it through. And even conversations with, people on my team and with my wife, and it's like sometimes we'll talk about certain challenges that we're trying to go through in the business, and then the amount of struggle that I have, and I see like a light at the end of the tunnel. And Alex told this story today, and I'm going to tell it because I want to remember it. So, because I'm going through something similar. I'm trying to build a sales team. Okay, for context, I do webinars. I scaled my business using webinars. Mm-hmm. For webinars, the way the metrics work is if you get 100 leads and you get 25 to show up, that's decent. And if you close at 10%, that's also decent, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you get 3 customers out of 100 leads. That's good. And so the problem is, what I'm like racking my brain of, 97 people didn't buy.
I know.
There's got to be some meat on that bone, right? So in my mind, I'm like, I got to scale up a sales team and go after that 97%. Mm-hmm. I need appointment setters. I need sales teams. I need sales directors. I need like everything to build up a whole sales team because we're bringing in like thousands of leads. And so like, that's got to be my focus. So that's what I've been working on the past couple of months. Alex today comes up with this story about how he decided that he wanted to try outbound sales to get gyms into his coaching program. And so one day he starts down this road and is working on this problem for 5 months straight. And at one point, they call him into his office and they say, and he called it felt like a what do they call an intervention. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, Alex, we need to talk. And they get Alex in a room and it's like, Alex, we got to talk. You have been spending all of your time on this thing, this outbound campaign for the last 5 months, and you haven't generated any revenue, and you're forgetting the core business of what's actually making money, and the business is suffering as a result. And Alex said in his head, he said, that's why no one will remember your name. I was like, fuck. Because in his mind, he saw the whole thing unraveling. Like the very first month, he figured out what lists to get. The second month, he figured out how to get them to not hang up on them. And the third month, he figured out how to make enough offers. And the fourth month, and so he's gone through like 5 months of figuring out exactly like step by step what needs to happen. On the 5th month, they got them into a room and says, Alex, you got to quit. You got to give up. You got to go work on this other thing. Mm-hmm. That's actually making the business money. And he's like, you guys just don't get it. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really powerful because there's always this, it's like push or pivot. And it's like you have a vision of like somebody trying to break down a wall, right? And the hard part is like you just don't know how thick the wall is. Yeah. And so all you can do is just keep chugging away at the wall and just hope that, eventually it's gonna break and that you'll see daylight, but sometimes you never do. And, the same thing of like, a seed or a plant coming through the dirt, and it's like at some point it's gonna bust through and it's gonna grow into be a big, beautiful flower. But so sometimes you just gotta keep pushing through it, even when people around you don't see it, and it's tough. It's tough because sometimes like the entire universe is telling you no, but you kind of like have an inkling and like, and no matter how much coaching you pay for, no matter how many books you read, no matter how many YouTube videos you watch, no matter how many consultants you pay, nobody has the context that you have in your business.
100%.
And so you have to trust what's inside because you're really in it. You're really in it every single day and nobody else is in it with you. So that's entrepreneurship in a nutshell to me.
Totally. And I love that you brought that up because I think he probably gave us the same story while we were at the workshop. But one thing in that really stuck out to me, which is big for me and what we do with our clients, is like you have to find more ways than just I made money to measure progress. It's like if we got on an onboarding call and you nailed your messaging and your messaging was trash before, that's progress. If we just launched your ad, you just launched your ad, I guess we, right? And now you have leads coming in, that's progress. And then you start DMing people, but they're not responding to you. Okay, that's progress. If you get better at the openers and now they are responding, you know what I mean? Like, none of those are you making money, but they're all you getting closer to making money. Yeah. So it's like, you know, just finding more ways to measure that. Like, if you weren't booking calls before and then you start booking them, even if they don't close, you're right there. Yeah. Like, you're where Alex would have been literally at the finish line when his team's telling him to give up. It's like, yeah, but can't you see how far you've come? You just need to crack closing. That's it. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. The other analogy he gave was like in this similar vein, where it's like, if I gave you $1 million to launch, so if I told you were going to make $1 million if you launch paid ads and it's going to cost you $100,000, would you do it? Of course, right?
Right.
Okay. But here's how it actually plays out. It's like month one, $10,000, you wasted $10,000. Month two, you spent $10,000 and got 0 sales. Month three, you spent $10,000, got 0 sales, had $30,000 in the hole. Month 4, you spent $10,000 and got like $2,500.
Yeah.
Month 5, you spent another $10,000, and this month you got $50,000 back. And it pays for all the other. Because what happens in month 1, you're just finding an ad. You launch 10 ads and 9 of them fail. Now you found the one ad. Month 2, you launch the ad that works, but now they're booking calls, but no one's showing up. Month 3, they're booking calls, they're showing up, but they're not closing. So every month you're actually getting a lot closer. But if all you're doing is looking at the revenue, right, then you'll probably quit.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people quit on paid ads. And that's why no one will remember their name.
Yeah. Not playing the long game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Very short-sighted. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the podcast is talk about your coaching program in terms of what it takes to build a successful coaching program. I see your client wins all the time. Obviously, you're doing something really awesome, so congratulations for that. But tell us about what it takes to build a good coaching program.
Yeah, a lot of things, I guess. I mean, at first, obviously, having something that, like, it depends what kind of coaching program we're talking about, but, I mean, the first thing is something that works, right? So if you're a fitness coach, relationship coach, business coach, I mean, something that's getting people results, right? So some product that you can sell that is good value exchange for the money people are paying. I think if I were to think about a good coaching program, there's probably a couple elements, right? Like, there's probably some form of course. There's probably some form of coaching, and then some form of community. So, I mean, we can break each of those down if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. I think, in terms of a good coaching program, like, you have to have the methodology itself. I'm doing a bunch of client interviews right now. Pretty much tried to get every single client I have on my calendar, like, this week, which my calendar is crazy, by the way. I was so tired before this podcast. And I asked them, like, if we took everything away except for one thing, like, what would be the one thing that you kept? And they're like, well, obviously the modules, because, like, you just need the training. But I will say, if in terms of scaling a coaching program and getting good, repeatable results and having something that's scalable, that course is really, really important, because everyone's going to learn from that. In reality, in the coaching program, I don't want to be getting on coaching calls from them and just teaching at them. I want them to have already done the things. Like, they've learned the things, they've done the things, and then they're coming to us for feedback on how to implement the things, right? Like, Hormozi talks about the information and the implementation, and they're different. But that information is still, like, really important. And I think, I'm assuming, obviously, most of your podcast listeners would know what we mean when we say leverage, right? Like,
possibly. Why don't you can explain it if you like?
I think this is a Naval thing, like Naval Ravikant, I think is how you say his last name. But, hopefully I don't get distracted from this whole, I'm slightly ADD, I'm sure. So hopefully we make it back to the real real point that I'm trying to make. But I think he says, like, the 4 C's, right? So capital, code, collaboration. What's the other one? Content, I think?
Content.
Yeah. So content being, like, if you post one piece of content, you can have so many people who see it, right? Capital being, like, dollars. If I spend more money on ads, I get, like, it's leverage. Like, I'm not doing any more work. I'm just spending more on the one thing that I already created. So capital, code being software. So think maybe, like, I don't know, GPT or AI or things like that. Collaboration, meaning like, people that you have on the team that help you do stuff so that you're not the only person doing stuff. There's 12 hands instead of, 2, right? But I was actually going to, if I ever got Hormozy on a podcast, I would be like, hey, do you think product could be like a form of leverage? Because you know what I mean? Like, really, it kind of feels like it is. But anyways, just in terms of like putting one input in and getting like more out for what you put in, that course is kind of like that because I create that one time and that gets people like a lot of results. So I think that for me, the foundation of stuff is like the course and what you teach and the methodology and have that being something that works. So that's kind of on the course side. On the community side, I think like selling, like bringing the right people into your program so the vibe is good. Hormozy has a quote that I love on this where he says like, the quality of your prospect determines the quality of your product, right? You sell better customers. They, in a very real way, get more value out of the thing that you're selling. Anyways, tons of stuff to break down there in community. And then the other thing is the coaching. And for us, like, that happens to some degree on one-to-one calls, to some degree on group coaching calls, to some degree in Slack, right? But I will say in terms of like scaling the type of coaching program that I have, I feel like it does become like a lot about finding the right people, like finding talent. Like if you're going to scale, a fitness coaching offer versus like a business coaching offer, it's kind of easier in a way to get like people to coaches in a way that can teach macros. You're learning, like there's very few things you're kind of learning when you do that. Not to say you're not learning stuff, also as a fitness coach, but macros don't change. They are what they are. But social media, marketing, business, it's kind of massive and it's always changing. So the thing that I've realized is in terms of really good delivery and product and like a coaching program, it kind of becomes a lot about the people that you find to help you because I can't do all the delivery, right? So we have a guy who's a sales expert. We have someone who's content. We have someone for DMs. We have me. But I've realized that kind of the business I'm in is like talent acquisition. Like it's about finding better talent for that.
Well, I've
stuff.
heard that's something, as you level up in business, you understand it's not necessarily the what, but the who.
Yeah.
And the higher up you go, the more you're going to learn that lesson.
Yeah.
Because you can only do some things yourself so well, but then it comes to like, how do you become the person that can attract that type of talent?
Totally. This might be a side quest, but I'd love to speak about that for a second.
Sure.
I think that's been like the biggest game changer for me. It's just like the way I view hiring right now, which by the way, not to like send someone to other podcasts, but damn, if you're trying to hire, like please go listen to Layla Hormozy's podcast. Yeah. It's been super helpful for me because for a long time, that podcast didn't appeal to me at all because I was like, well, I don't have any team members. I was way more into Alex's stuff. But then I realized like, oh, like this, like if I think about the constraint of my business, it's probably people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just think that's been a huge revelation for me in the past. I don't say the past 15 months, honestly, is when I started hiring people. But just realizing, wow, I have to get better at this. And the mindset that's been really helpful for me with that is just like, of course you're not going to be good at this. Like you haven't done this a lot yet. So like, can I swear on this podcast? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. But I have like a mantra to myself and it's like, the faster you fuck it up, the faster you figure it out. And so it's like, good, hire that closer and screw everything up and like learn the lessons and take that and hire the next person. But I think like for me, I think scaling to where we want to go just becomes about, and this is also from a mentor, but it's like he basically said like, it just adds in team. That's what it is from here on out. And so I don't know, I'm kind of like running into that fire a little bit right now of, okay, how do I just muck this up faster? Not intentionally, but just like, just take action quickly. Yeah. And if it doesn't pan out the way that you want, that's fine. But that was the point. Like the point wasn't for you to get it right. The point was for you to learn the skills. And when you learn the skills, you'll get it right anyways.
Yeah. Well, that's what, Facebook had on their lobby. Move fast, break shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Move fast and break
I
shit.
might adopt that company core value. We have 2 right now. We were thinking about putting speed as one, but I like that.
What are your core values for your company?
We had 10, and then I was like,
10's a lot.
It's a lot, right?
So you can't remember 10. Your employees can't remember. Your team can't remember 10.
It's a lot. And then I heard Layla talk on her podcast about their 3 core values being like, I think she said sincere candor, unimpeachable character, and competitive greatness were like their 3. Because brains just love 3s, like even on a sales call, like brains.
Right.
When you start going over into 4 and 5, and people are like, I don't know what you're telling me anymore. But our 2 right now, one is relentless improvement, or like relentless standards. And the other one is client centric. So those are the 2 that we care about right now. But I just want to, in so many ways, I think the reason that I even want to do this is I just love growth. I love improving, and like I'm almost like kind of militant with myself a little bit. Like the bar is really high in my head sometimes. So I want to keep that. I want to keep like, I think this is actually a core value of whether you love them or don't love them so much at Amazon, but like very client centric, or maybe they say customer obsessed or something like that. But those are the 2. I thought about putting speed is king though. That was from Hormozy. That was one of his from Gym Launch, I think. But that's good. Move fast. Was it move fast, break shit?
Break shit. Move fast, break shit.
I like that. I might steal it with love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so community coaching and courses.
Yeah.
What else about community? Like, how do you foster a good community?
Yeah. Good question. I think, again, bringing the right people in is helpful.
And do you pay these people as consultants? Like you have an ads guy, a sales guy, this guy, and you kind of bring him in, and then your team can kind of like has access to these people, or they give like different office hours with different focus, or how does that look?
Yeah, good question. So we have a couple different things going on. Obviously, I was just there to begin with. In terms of the guy who does sales for us, so he's not necessarily like a part of the team, but we pay him separately, kind of as a contractor. He has probably worked for like closing for a lot of big names that people would know. So he's very well versed in that, and so we just kind of pay him as a contractor. In terms of content, really content and like DM stuff now, it's actually been people who had a fitness coaching business themselves and then came into my business and started in the DMs. And then moved on to other things in the team. So it's like they've done it for themselves, and then I've trained them up like for our business. And so like the methodologies are super aligned because they went through, they did what we teach, right? And then they moved into different client success, like client support roles. Yeah.
Where do you see this coaching business taking you, or your business, whether you want to call it a coaching business?
Yeah.
Where do you want to take your business?
Oh, this is a good question. I think that I had a really strong character traits and also a really small mindset in terms of what I could achieve for a very long time. I think that up until 2018, I wanted to make like $60K in a year, right? And just do what I loved, and I would have been happy with that. And then I was dating this guy in 2018, and he like just thought way bigger than me, and it was like kind of inspiring. And then I ended up reading the Think and Grow Rich book and being like, well, you ever read that poem in there, Bargain with Life for a Penny? Oh man, it's super good. If anyone's listening to this podcast, like please like read that poem. But it's like the premise is the name of the poem. It's like bargain with life for a penny and it will pay no more. So it's like what you ask for is kind of what you get. Anyways, I set a bigger goal and I was like, okay, I'd like to hit $1 million, right? Like just in a year.
Per month?
Okay. No, this was in a year back then. That would have that was like a big goal for me.
Yeah. I was halfway joking, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I think we got close last year in Canadian dollars. We hit our first 100K month US last December. Awesome. So definitely like on pace for that right now, if that makes sense. But hitting that 100K month, I was like, oh shit, like
it's possible.
Well, I was kind of like, oh, that was the original goal. Like that was only a couple months ago. So I was like, where do we go from here? But I think recently when you hit a goal, I mean, usually you set a new one. So, and I knew that was coming. I was never delusional enough the whole time to be like, it's going to be a pot of gold. I was like, no, I just actually like going after the goal. Same way Hormozy just like wants to hit 1 billion, but he likes doing the things. He likes the days in between now and hitting 1 billion. Or Gary Vee wants to buy the jets or whatever, right? It's not necessarily like he thinks his life's going to change when he gets the jets. He just likes being in pursuit, I think, of buying the jets. So same thing for me. But still, when you hit that goal, you're like, okay, like I've climbed to the top of this mountain. What else could I do? Like it's the natural next human question, I think. And so I think that the next goal for me is I would like to do 1 million a month. I definitely believe that that's possible. But in a weird way, it's like, it's not about the 1 million a month. Like I live pretty frugally, like probably too frugally for the amount of money that I currently make. You'll see my, 2008 Toyota, what is it out there? Toyota something.
Yaris?
No, it's not a Yaris. I just got this thing.
Okay.
Corolla, probably?
Okay.
Anyways, doesn't matter. I got it a month ago. Don't judge me.
All right, cool. No judgment here.
Yeah, I got a car in Canada and a car in the States now. But anyways, the 1 million though, it's really more about the personal development stuff. It's about who you're becoming in the process. I just genuinely like the journey. Yeah, I think we can help a lot of people in the meantime too. Yeah. So it's like a growth and service thing.
Yeah. I think we have to be very careful about the goals that we set.
Yes.
Because if we set a goal and go after it, we might actually hit it. Mm-hmm. For example, at some point, I started off my entrepreneurship, I hesitate to say my journey, but at one point I owned a pressure washing business. Mm-hmm. And my goal was to hit $1 million per year in that business. Mm-hmm. And I came close before I decided that I didn't want to pursue that anymore. So we were hitting like 80K months in that. And then I'm like, dang, this is like not the business that I want to be in. Mm. And eventually pivoted. But the other thing too, another goal is like I wanted to have 100 clients pay me every month for my Go High Level SaaS business. So I have a Go High Level business. People pay me monthly to have my Go High Level white label SaaS. And then I was like, okay, 100. And like, I locked in on this goal. Okay. I had the thermometer and every day I went up and I like marked and like I was like so dead focused on this goal because I had to hit it before the deadline so I can go up and get my award on the stage. And then like,
was it like a ClickFunnels award?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted this award because I never won any kind of awards, but like this award was going to validate and let me know that like I can do certain things. And if I could just get this award, then it was going to change my life. And all of a sudden I was going to like unlock a new potential in myself. I had to get this stupid award, right? So I went dead on this award and you know, I hit it in like 2.5 months, like 3 months. And it's one of these awards that most people kind of never really get or like they try and they don't really get. But I hit it in 3 months and then I was like, dang, that was it? Like that wasn't even that hard. Like I probably should have aimed for 1,000, you know?
Yeah.
Like what would have, because you know what the weirdest thing is? Kind of a side note, but also very related. As soon as I hit that 100 client mark, I started having these problems in my business. Like all of a sudden my ad stopped working. All of a sudden my conversion, my upsell conversion started to go down. And I'm like, that's weird. And then all of a sudden I kind of like stopped taking webinars for a couple of weeks. And like all these things started happening where like my growth slowed down. It's like once you hit that goal, like you get that dopamine rush or whatever it is. And all of a sudden you just kind of like, you know, so you have to be careful about the goals that you hit. Because if I had set my goal for 1,000, I would have blown past 100. Like who even cares about 100? Mm-hmm. And so why did I choose 100? Because I thought that's what I was capable of doing.
And to your point on that, I mean, I think there's multiple ways you could take this. You have to be careful with the goals you set. Because I mean, I think sometimes like I'll set a goal and then I'm a crazy person. So I'll sacrifice everything to hit the goal. Like I'm like, that could be unhelpful too. But that's why I went with the 1 million a month thing. Because in my mind, I was like, well, even if you hit 200K a month, that'd be like another next goal. Or 500K a month that's pretty crazy. Like you don't know a lot of people personally who have a coaching business who do that. But then I was like, but why would you aim at that? Like why wouldn't you aim at 10x? Like you know 1 million a month is possible. Why would you just only try to double? Yeah. You know?
Yeah, well, because that's what we feel is possible in our own minds for whatever reason.
Yeah. But it's like, do I think that the people making whatever, 2 million a month I mean, realistically, like I work as much as a person could work.
Yes,
So
but I think about this sometimes too. I think I might catch flack for this, but I think some people, I don't know. Is there a genetic predisposition to like, extreme example, could you grow SpaceX, Tesla, and X?
Oh yeah.
Could you?
Yeah.
I know I can say that I'm not capable. I don't think I'm at that level. I don't have, I can't operate at that level. So if there is a level of entrepreneur that you are not capable of reaching, then there is a spectrum of entrepreneurship on which you lie. And so on one end is zero because you never try. And the other end is Elon Musk and you'll never get there because you're not him. And then someplace in between that, we lie. Now, I think 80% of it, like if you have the basic, you need a basic level of intelligence, right? And you don't need to be extremely smart, but you do need to have a basic level of intelligence. Let's say, I don't even know what IQ's like the range is, but let's say you need to have like the 65th percentile of IQ. And then on top of that, you need to have a certain level of environment. You need to have been brought up in a particular environment. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. But then on top of that, you need to, and not saying you had to have a privileged environment. In fact, sometimes if you grow up in a disadvantaged environment, that is the environment that fuels you to go on and then accomplish things. And on top of that, you need to have a certain amount of luck. Luck is huge. And unfortunately, or fortunately, luck plays a huge role in whether or not you will. I mean, were you born in the West? Do you speak English? You know, were you born into a family that didn't have to carry water for 2 miles in order for you to be able to, you know? So environment that you were born into also plays a big factor. So luck, right? Were you in the right place at the right time, right? Like Bill Gates, Microsoft, like he wasn't just the smartest person. He happened to have access to a computer in a time when computers were just getting started. He worked at a university, had unlimited access to a computer. So like, all these different things. And then on top of that, it's like, you know, like, yeah, there's like maybe how smart are you, you know, all these different things. How disciplined are you, you know, that type of thing. So I think like there's a spectrum of entrepreneurship that you are capable of. And so in our minds, part of it is like, you know, I only believe I'm this part, but also like you may never actually reach Elon Musk's status. Do you feel like there's some kind of limit?
I have so many things to say about this.
I could be completely wrong. And so like, oh, you know, everyone could be Elon Musk. Like, can everyone be Michael Jordan? Can everyone be, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's levels to this stuff. And some of it is predispositioned at things that are not on our, I don't know, our within our you know, what we can change.
I mean, I don't disagree. I definitely think there's predisposition, right? Like, am I 7 feet tall to be a basketball bro? Like, no, right? Like, I'm 5'3", right? So, like, yeah, there's definitely genetics at play. I do think, though, in terms of luck, I think that you can increase your luck surface area by certain things that you do, right? Like, even
for sure.
Let's even just
100%.
say on this podcast right now. Who knows what comes of this podcast for either of us? But like, I think I probably increased my luck surface area when I went to Funnel Hacking Live. Could have stayed home, but I was like, you know what? 100%. I need to make this effort to meet more people because I'm on my laptop all the time. So I think that you can make different choices. You can take different risks. You can choose different whatever, that you can increase your luck surface area.
100%.
There's still luck though,
yeah.
Right? I think that in terms of the genetic predisposition and you know, Elon being a certain breed and whatever, obviously I do think that that's a part, but I also think there's a lot of shifting you can do. Like back to that thing where it's like, I don't think I was cut out for entrepreneurship, but I think I cut myself out for it. Like now it feels like I was meant for this. Like I couldn't imagine doing any other thing, but like I was not meant for this in the beginning, like at all. Like I was scared to show up on camera. You couldn't pay me enough to just like film a video. Like I used to charge $30 a month for my nutrition coaching. I never wanted a team. In fact, that just like gave me the ick. Like there was just so many things, that character traits, ways of being, amounts of risk being taken. Like there was just so many things that Which is probably why it took me so long, right? But there was a lot of things that had to shift. And I don't maybe have the genetics for sure of Elon or whomever. But I think that you can still, if it's on a spectrum, I think you can really shift that spectrum. So there's that. And then the other thing is like, you know, let's say like me getting to $1 million a month. Okay, I don't even know what my IQ is. I don't even have it. I'm not sure. Anyways, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I was just, even when I'm driving here, whenever I drive past the airport, I watch all the planes coming in. This is the thoughts in my head. I watch all the planes coming in and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. There's like plane. Like they're all just like, it's so choreographed. And I'm driving by the airport thinking to myself, Morgan, imagine the operations it takes to run an airport. And you're just trying to figure out some operations to run your little coaching business? I'm like, give me a break. Yeah. Like, I just think what I'm trying to do, like, someone with probably no genetic predisposition, if they just stayed in the game long enough, could probably accomplish it, you know? So I think there's levels to, like, what you're trying to achieve. But I think, like, even some stuff that's, like, really big, I think a lot of people could make that happen. Like, Alex talks about this, going to masterminds with people. And it's like, and this might sound bad, and he kind of says this when he talks about it, but he's like, I would sometimes go to these masterminds and be like, that's seriously, that guy figured this out? Like, holy crap. Like,
I get so pissed. I get so pissed when I go into rooms and like, and like there's people that are like, have certain metrics that I want. I remember the first time I saw a guy that spoke, like an American dude speaking Spanish. Like this dude had learned Spanish and I couldn't speak any languages. I'm like, this guy, and he was like a drunk at a bar, like using it to like impress a chick. And actually he was speaking Spanish to a Brazilian girl, and they speak Portuguese in Brazil. Anyway, and so I was like, that like douchebag can speak a language, and like I don't, and like that sucks. But and like very soon after that, I actually moved to Brazil, and I learned the language, and I speak like multiple languages fluently now. And so like, and I eventually picked that up. So I relate to that. But also when I go to like these events, I went to the like Go High Level SaaSpreneur event. I went to the Funnel Hacking Live event. I went to, and then like, and now this event that I'm at now, the workshop with Alex Hormozi. And I just think like these guys, like they got nothing that I don't.
I know.
They got nothing that I don't.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, and it kind of just frustrates you a little bit. To a degree, you're like, like I'm like the whole time I'm like let's do this. Like I'm like in my head I'm like I gotta do this. I get a little like aggro actually.
Yeah,
I get a little frustrated.
It's good to me though. Like it's kind of good. It's the same almost thing as like comparison. Like that could be not so good, but also, I find it really helpful to compare myself to people 100%. That are way farther along. Like there's certain people I can think of right now and I watch them post 2 or 3 times or 5 times or 10 times the amount of content that I post in a similar niche. And I'm like, Morgan, you could be doing this. Like it's just like, it's like I see the potential and I'm here and it just pisses me off.
Yeah,
like, it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. Well, also that's the importance of being in the right rooms because I remember being in the awards room when I was going to win my 100, my award for having 100 Go High Level clients. And then I no longer felt special because the room was freaking huge. There was like 100 people in this room about to win an award. And I'm like, well, like, obviously, you know, like my award isn't that special. So I just got to keep working harder. Like if all these people can do it, like there's not obviously like, you know, wasn't that special. So, you know, you have to be in the right rooms because if I was in a different room, I might be the most accomplished person in that room. So that's why you have to get in the right rooms where like like there's headroom, there's room to grow. Because you don't want to be a big fish in a small pond. I mean, maybe you do. Maybe you do.
Totally. And I think something that's, this changed my mindset a lot recently. It's been really helpful. But getting into the right rooms, which is helpful because I got this quote from someone, but it's good. Constant exposure always leads to some form of contamination, right? Whether it's good or bad, right? Like if someone's like eating Cheetos all day and they're always skipping the gym and they're watching Netflix, like that exposure eventually is going to go to you, right? Same thing with being in the right rooms, right? People are hitting the gym, they're eating healthy, they're making money. Look, you're going to, probably adopt some of those habits. I guess subconsciously because humans want to fit in. I don't know the details. I'm going to butcher that. But what really has changed things for me recently without even being in some of the rooms is just, I think I got this from, I don't know if I got this from Layla or from Alex, but they're the only podcast I listen to other than Dan Martell. There's only 3 business podcasts I listen to. Maybe I'm going to listen to this one now or else he's going to kick me off the show. Yeah. But just saying like, it's not even just the average of the people you spend the most time with, but it's your reference group. Like it's who you compare yourself to. Because previously, for example, I was comparing myself to mentors that are in like of the programs that I was in. Whereas I kind of just stopped doing that recently. And I found people who were like 5x farther along than that. And now I'm just comparing myself to that. And I'm just like skipping that piece.
Yeah.
And it's been helpful because I just think on a different level.
Yeah.
But I'm not in the room sometimes with those people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it was, I don't know who it was, maybe it was Alex, but it's like your contentment is going to be based off of the people that are around you. For example, let's say you always wanted to make $100,000 salary and then you finally made $100,000 salary working at your 9 to 5 and you're happy, right? And then one day you find out that your 4 peers are all making $500,000, people you go to work with every single day. How happy are you with the $100,000?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're pissed, right? And it's like, what changed? You still have the goal that you always wanted. You still earn the exact same amount of money. You still are now financially okay, but you are upset because the people around you are making $500,000. That's the room you want to be in if you want to grow. Because that anger or that feeling of discontent is what's going to push you to actually grow and get to the next level.
Yeah.
I thought that was really powerful too.
Yeah. Life hacks.
Life hacks.
Life hacks, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of coming to the end here. Been going for a little more than an hour. I have a couple of questions I'd like to end with.
Hit me.
Okay. So the first thing is, if you had a billboard in the middle of Times Square.
God.
I know. I put people on the spot with these questions. But if you had a billboard in the middle of Times Square, a message that you can share with everybody, what would you have on that billboard?
It's something along the lines of take the jump or bet on yourself or don't leave nothing on the table. Maybe I would just say that, leave nothing on the table. But I don't know, I've been living my life like that for the last couple of years and it's been really working out for me and I wouldn't change anything. So maybe I'd put the man in the arena quote. You know that quote?
Yes.
Yeah. It's just something with that essence of I would rather get my face smashed in and be in the arena than be safe on the sidelines any day. That's what I would say. Something along those lines.
Cool.
Yeah.
Another one is, what is your most gifted book or most recommended book?
My most recommended book, honestly, would be Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time, probably, or The Quantum Leap Strategy, was a manifesting thing. But for clients, I do think Hormozi's books are good, but I think in terms of leverage and stuff, I think Buy Back Your Time is really good. Yeah.
Cool. And then one last one. If you could give a challenge to people that are watching this, so maybe somebody who might be one of your type of clients, maybe somebody that was in a similar position that you were before, what would you challenge people to do? What do you want to challenge people? What do you want to encourage people to do?
I think I would challenge people to move on things 10 times faster than they're currently moving on things. Yeah. What's preventing you from doing this in a day versus 10? Why is this going to take so long? Why are you delaying this decision forever? Decide, take action, move fast, break shit, Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to share?
No, I think that's it. This was fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. This has been another edition of the A-Lister Show. Subscribe, all that bullshit. And see you on the next one.